We're not on yet, but we're trying to get there.
Hello? Okay, we're
Hello.
on.
Okay. Welcome, or as our dear friend Chris Alt would say, hello, hello, hello.
Hello.
Hello. Thank you for spending your lunch time break with us. Do they get lunch after this, or what? Are you dying of starvation?
I see some chewing going on back there.
Are
Over
vegans
there.
malnourished, or are they?
B12 and iron, yeah.
Anyway, listen, I am here to introduce someone who is no stranger to many of you, but still, it is my great honor, my great joy and delight to introduce, for the first time, she's making an appearance at the Jivamukti Yoga tribe gathering. And this extraordinary being goes by the name of Jamie Logan. Let's give a big hand to Jamie Logan. Jamie Logan.
We don't need to stand up. It's okay.
Yes, Jamie Logan. Jamie Logan.
We got 3 people. Oh. No.
Jamie, Jamie, Jamie.
Keep
Yes.
it coming. Keep it coming. No.
Now, some of you might not understand
Oh,
that
me.
kind of response, but you will, I hope, by the end of our little session, how appropriate that welcome and that hooray is for this extraordinary being. She is an animal rights activist. She is a filmmaker. She is an actress. She is a certified 375-hour Jivamukti teacher. She is an expert on trivia.
Okay.
Watch my elbow.
Watch my elbow. Watch my elbow. Watch my elbow. Guys, you know if you clap, you can clap at the same time if you look at the other person's elbow. Turn to a partner
Try it.
and try it.
Just watch their elbow.
Watch the elbow.
Watch the elbow. Watch the elbow. Watch the elbow. That's just one of the many trivial things that I have learned from Jamie Logan. So I met Jamie because Jamie has a very, very popular.
I know about. I've been trying to teach her.
Popular.
Yeah, we've been watching Wicked.
Okay.
You know, Defying Gravity.
She has a very popular podcast, almost as popular as the Jiva Chai Chat. But and that podcast is It's Jamie's Corner. It's Jamie's Corner. And she has people that she interviews on that podcast, people anywhere from animal rights activists to experts on alien invasion. So she has a very eclectic, wide-ranging look at the world. And but first and foremost, she is concerned about how animals are treated. And she's not only concerned, she has the kind of compassion that is the type of compassion where not only does she have empathy and understanding, but she has solutions for how to change or dismantle this present culture and make this world a kinder place where all beings are treated with respect and kindness and caring. All of those things about her that I just listed, all of her various activities, are amazing. But what really inspires me probably the most was when I started watching Jamie's on the street interviews with random people in various cities. And her sense of humor, her respect for each person, but her commitment to veganism and animal rights within all of those interactions was so impressive to me that I know why she is an extraordinary influencer. And I'd like to show a few clips
Okay, I
from
guess the
those
next question
on
that I have for you guys
the street
is,
interviews.
do you think it's weird for adults to drink breast milk past the age of infancy?
Nah, I wouldn't say weird, but like, I ain't gonna lie, cause if you think about it on like, at the end of the day, you know, we're mammals, you know, that's just, you know, part of what we do, but I think like...
What other mammal breastfeeds from their mom past infancy?
When you say it like that, that sounds crazy, I'm not gonna lie. I'm thinking like, yeah, it's breast milk. At the end of the day, I don't know, bro. If it's not in a carton, I ain't, yeah.
Okay, let me phrase it this way. Would you drink your mother's breast milk now?
Fuck no.
Would you drink another woman's breast milk right now?
No. No.
No? Okay. Would you drink breast milk from a dog?
Huh? What? No.
Would you drink breast milk from a cow?
Yeah, see, I know.
I felt that coming.
Today I am in Washington Square Park and I am giving people one of two choices. Go vegan on your own or you go vegan because I bite you. Are you guys aware of the Lone Star tick? When I bite people, they turn vegan.
I'm already vegan.
Oh, perfect. So you went vegan for the right reasons, not because I had to force you to.
But you know what? I'd love it if you forced me to.
When these ticks bite you, they inject a sugar called alpha-gal into your bloodstream and it causes people to develop an autoimmune response. That same sugar is also found in meat and dairy products. After a Lone Star tick bites you, if you are to eat meat, which you shouldn't, you will break out in hives, in rashes, and you will have explosive diarrhea.
Wow.
Why do you think people go vegan?
More healthy?
An ethical thing?
All about the planet, you know?
I'm making adjustments in my diet, but I'm not going full vegan.
Unless I bite you.
Please don't bite me.
Well, getting bit by a tick, will it get me good math grades?
Listen, you could either go vegan on your own, or I could bite you.
I'll go on my own. I'll go vegan on my own.
If you could live a life that reduces suffering and cruelty for all living beings, why wouldn't you?
Why wouldn't I? Yeah, you're right. Why wouldn't I go vegan?
If you go to genv.org, you can sign up to take a 7-day vegan challenge.
Oh my God. That sounds great.
It's like I give you two choices. You either go vegan because you realize it's the right thing to do, or you go vegan because I bite you.
Either way, you should do it.
Done. We're giving out some Elwood dog meat samples.
Is the meat here?
We are actually giving away a discount for people to go online. So if you go to elwoodsorganicdogmeat.com, we're giving away 20%.
People don't really eat dog in this country, do they?
Well, it's a cultural thing. So a lot of people will eat dogs in other countries, but not as much here. So we're trying to start it up here because we're like, well, I mean, what's the difference between eating dogs, pigs, cows, chickens, or turkeys?
Does it taste like cow or pork or something?
Whatever you season it with, really, it kind of takes on the flavor.
I'm not gonna eat you.
I promise you, we raise these dogs with the highest quality of standard. I mean, we love them, we name them, we pet them, and then they just have one bad day.
One bad day.
Just one bad day.
Wow. But dogs are more like companions, you know, like they've been human companions for hundreds of years.
Well, the thing is, like, as former cattle ranchers, like, we could never eat, like, there was a couple of cows that we really got fond of, so of course we couldn't eat them because we named them. So the whole thing is, if you name them, you can't eat them, right? But if you don't name them, I mean, you can eat them.
Yeah, I kind of want to be a vegetarian now.
Well, that's really good because we're actually vegan. And this is a spoof.
Okay.
And the feeling that you're feeling right now is exactly how we feel when other people eat other animals.
Cows and pigs and...
We have a sanctuary called Rowdy Girl, and we're the first documented beef cattle ranch in the whole world to go vegan.
This is very effective. I like it.
Do you like animals?
Yes.
Do you think you can like animals and also eat them?
Yeah, oh well.
not the animals I know.
Let's say that dog over there, you don't know that dog. He's playing fetch, you don't know him. Would you be okay hurting him?
No, I would feel bad.
Of course, because you're a normal person that has empathy, right?
Yeah.
Just like that dog, pigs also like to run around and feel grass under their feet. Cows can play fetch. Chickens can count.
Right.
Like, there's things about these animals that we totally just, we devalue their lives because we have to in order to exploit them. We should hold ourselves accountable for our consumption and become more mindful.
Yeah.
Recently, Jamie, remember I found something about a caterpillar and some parasites that were living on the caterpillar, and you found it quite interesting. Would you like to tell
Yes.
our group about that?
Sure, absolutely. Well, first of all, thank you all so much for being here and for taking the time to watch some of those clips. I am so honored. And yes, so the caterpillar story, this I thought was a very interesting perspective. So there's a type of wasp that lays its eggs inside of a caterpillar. And the larva begins to grow inside of this host. So it's a parasitic relationship. And what ends up happening is as the larva grows, they begin to chew their way outside of the skin, chemically changing the inside of the caterpillar. So when they come out, the caterpillar is not killed, but instead it is completely changed and completely rewired. So the caterpillar now lives to serve the very parasites that destroyed its insides. So the caterpillar does not eat, it doesn't flee, but instead the caterpillar guards the cocoons of these wasps, and its whole life is now to serve the parasites. And caterpillars are not the only ones to experience this type of parasitic relationship. As we were discussing, human beings also experience this parasitic relationship, but not from wasps, but instead from what is on their plates. Rotting flesh, congealed breast milk, ovulations, unfertilized ovulations, meat, dairy, and eggs. These products are completely addictive, they're inflammatory, and they are sedating our empathy, really. So it was a very, very interesting comparison to see how a being like a caterpillar could experience this parasite that is destroying its insides, but instead the caterpillar aims to serve those parasites. And with us, it's we're addicted to these products.
So you're saying that human beings find it hard to become vegan because they are addicts, that they have a parasitic relationship with the rotting flesh and congealed fluids and milk of other animals. But why then, how do you explain that some of us find it completely normal and easy to be vegan? Then why that?
I feel so naked without the hoops, but it's okay. So the question is, why do some people find it easy?
Yes.
Well, I think it's a mindset shift of going from seeing these meat, dairy, and eggs, wool, leather, cosmetics that are tested on animals, seeing it as products, instead shifting that to seeing it as suffering and seeing the process of where it comes from. So when I went vegan, it was a matter of just recognizing that all these things that I was taking were never mine to take in the first place. So it's like a shift in mindset where I don't look at the burger that's on the grill and think, that looks good. Instead, I think I associate it with the animal that it came from. So it's less appetizing.
It sounds to me that you recognized that there are givers and takers in the world, that perhaps maybe all human beings could be categorized as givers or takers. And a taker does look at another being or a situation and asks, what can I get from this? How can they or it serve what I want? And whereas a giver is less likely to perceive others or a situation from a potential exploitive position. Yes?
Exactly.
And but that shift in perception, I'm interested in how that happens. And could we tell other people, if we found out how that happened, could we reveal that secret to others? And I know you're interested in that, and I'm also interested in that, and that really, that interest compelled me to study yoga. And so I thought maybe we could talk a little bit about addiction, and addiction to drugs, addiction to meat, addiction to dairy, addiction to gambling, addiction, there's so many addictions that plague human beings. And I don't think any of us feel that being addicted to an external substance is a nice thing. We don't really view that as something to gravitate towards or to cultivate, do we? But why is that? Why do we have an aversion? I think it's because to be dependent on something external diminishes your feeling of self-confidence, independence, joy, happiness. As Dr. Nicholas was speaking to us about this morning, we all have the inner light. But there are ways that we suppress that inner light. We cover it over so we can't even access it. It seems like we can't feel it. We forget that we have it, and we go around living in a state of darkness. We could call it ignorance. We could call it suffering. We could call it sadness. We could call it anger, blame, etc. So in yoga practices such as asana, asanas stimulate the endocrine system. Dr. Nicholas, am I correct on this? Yes, he's nodding, so I have a doctor's approval. Specific asanas, yeah, there's an actual man behind that curtain. The great and powerful Oz. No.
We've had to do some fact checking this trip. I try to keep her in line, so.
So there are external chemical stimulants. They're called exogenous, and there are internal chemical stimulants that make you feel good for a certain amount of time, both of those, and they're called endogenous, the internal ones. So asana practice, standing asanas affect the adrenals, forward bending, the gonads, testicles, ovaries, those sexual type of hormones are secreted. There's the twisting, liver, pancreas, back bends, thymus, strengthening your immune system. Sarvangasana, halasana, thyroid, child seat, very powerful child seat stimulates the pineal pineal gland, has to do with light. Turning upside down, headstand, handstand, pituitary. So when we practice asana regularly, we maintain a homeostasis, a release of these chemicals, so we're not on a fight or flight system. We're even keel. That's how yogis get their feelings of serenity and calmness and joy and sense of humor. Whereas a person who is addicted to external chemicals to bring about a feeling is always wanting more. They never experience that even keel serenity or true sense of joy or delight. So if people find it hard to be vegan because they are addicted to those chemicals that are found in meat and dairy, bring them to yoga class and help them to learn how to access and to become addicted. It's okay to become addicted to those inner chemicals, those ones that are self-produced, not having to take from some external source. Would you agree?
Absolutely. And I think also when they go to a yoga class, it's a place where we can start to cultivate more mindfulness and connect to that inner light. It's often for some people, they're going to these classes because there's a lot of stress at work and they want to go into the classroom to decompress. And really, what that time in a yoga class is giving someone is a chance, an opportunity to, as you're saying, release some of the stress that's in our body, but also connect to our true selves. And I think that when we are more connected to this consciousness that exists inside all of us, inside of all living beings, we can begin to really feel that oneness. And therefore, we are less likely to want to eat animals, to cause harm to other beings, to continue taking, and instead look at the world in a way where, how can I give? How can I serve? And I think that when it comes to being vegan, it's really just putting these principles into practice. It's an applicable way. So we all want to change the world, but if we can't change what we eat for breakfast, I'm not sure how we're going to do that.
Right. How has your practice and study of yoga helped you to become a better vegan animal rights activist?
That's a great question. So I have been an animal rights activist and vegan for over 7 years, and I started practicing Jivamukti Yoga a year and a half ago. So when I stepped into Jivamukti Yoga Collective on the Lower East Side of New York City, I actually did not know what I was getting myself into. I thought I was just gonna go to a yoga class to decompress and to get rid of all the stress that I had from just the various actions that I was taking when it came to activism. And what I actually realized after a few classes was, this is a way that I can be more effective as an activist, because instead of acting from a place of ego and anger, I can actually act from a place of love and empathy, and therefore be more effective and reach more people. And this doesn't mean to let people off the hook and to bite my tongue in situations. It's about the intention, I think, really going into it. Is it about me and me trying to be right? Maybe sometimes with you, but in activism situations, is it about that, or is it about just being an instrument to provide information And hopefully if somebody's ready, that they will change. And they will be able to hear that information like I once did. You know, I don't consider myself any special or different than anyone else. Like, I grew up eating animals. I wore leather shoes. I used to wear a lot of makeup that tested on animals. I mean, all sorts of things. I was not mindful at all. So, you know, I always say, I'm like, if I could change, literally anybody can. But if you can change and you want to see change in the world, speak up about it. Do something about it. And we all can in our own way. So if you are a public speaker, a teacher in some way, there's lots of different tactics we can use to get messages in there. Or if you're an artist or a songwriter, a poet, even if you're just going to the grocery store, wear a shirt, defend animals. And know that your voice is a lot more powerful than you may think. People will listen.
And one of those ways, I mean, everyone here is involved in yoga. So it seems to me from my observation that most people, normal people that is, become vegan for pretty much 3 reasons. Their health, certainly not the health of the animals, but their own health. The environment, the health of the environment. Or because they recognize that being so cruel to animals is wrong. So they have empathy, sympathy, pity, compassion for the animals. But that's for normal people, and those are all fantastic reasons. But as a yoga practitioner or a yoga teacher, we have another ace in our pocket. And that has to do with karma. We know about how karma works. We know about, I mean, the Christians should know about this. Do unto others as you would want them to do unto you. Treat others as you would want to be treated. Why? Because in due time, the karma comes back to you. However you have treated somebody, you will be treated that way at some point. So we can't change what happened in the past, but we do have some control of what will happen in the future by what we do right now. And I'd like to, Jamie and I, to relate a story that happened to us where this kind of revealed itself, this karma, the karma reason. We were on a train and we were with our dear beloved friend Moritz.
It was a beautiful sunny day.
And we were traveling from Munich, Germany, to Hamburg, Germany. And it was a pretty long train ride, I mean, 4.5 hours, something like that.
There was a symphony going on in the train, and I decided that it was time for an adventure. I was tired of sitting down for 2 hours, and I was hungry.
And reading the Srimad Bhagavatam.
I was so hungry I could eat Moritz or like, and I was like, I'm gonna go for a walk on the train. So I set off.
So she set off, and she was gone for quite some time. Meanwhile, Moritz was sitting across me, and he had his hoodie on, and he was dozing off. He was asleep. So I thought, well, I'll leave Moritz as he is, and I'm going to go and search for Jamie. Something could have happened to her.
Could have been getting into some trouble, it's true.
So I walked through several cars until I found, lo and behold, the dining car. And Jamie was talking to the person behind the counter, and they had these little packets of oat milk. She was going on and on, how incredible.
This innovation. It's like a cone with oat milk. I've never seen anything like it.
She was congratulating this person.
Loved it.
Over and over again. She was hugging them. She was, like, I love you, I love you, I love you, I love being on this train.
Okay, that's a little dramatic.
No, it's not. It was like that. So as she was doing that, a woman came up to the counter and ordered a coffee. And she also asked the counter person for cream for her coffee that came from the breast of a cow. They call it regular. You know, have you ever thought about that? Why are all the things that are cruel and bad for you called normal? And all the things that are good for you, good for the planet, good for the animals, are called alternative. It's interesting, right? But we're changing that.
Absolutely.
We are changing that. All of us here are changing that.
One train ride at a time.
Yeah. So this woman comes up and, has the cream for her coffee. And Jamie is standing next to her and she picks up the oat milk, actually picks up the whole bowl of the oat milk, little packets. And she goes, "Have you seen this?" Take it from there, Jamie.
Yes, I said, have you tried these? They're amazing. I totally recommend it for your coffee. And she says, yes, I've tried it before and I really like it. And so I said, oh, well, why didn't you order it with the oat milk then? And I think it was just a matter of convenience. She forgot. I don't know. And then I asked her, I said, are you familiar with what happens to dairy cows in the dairy industry?
Yes. And so then this woman was beginning to get annoyed.
And she was beginning to look different.
Yes. And I said, Jamie, let's just move back a bit.
Well, this was after I explained to her that dairy cows are artificially inseminated. They have their babies taken and they're killed. All dairy cows are killed.
But Jamie, we moved a little bit this way. And she was standing there. And
we are just looking at her.
We're looking at her. And her boobs started to grow. I am not kidding.
I saw milk coming out of them.
And we walked back to our seat where Moritz had woken up.
And you said, did you see what I saw?
To you, I said that.
Yes.
And Jamie said, yes. And I said to Moritz, Moritz, you're writing a book about the Yoga Sutra, right? And he goes, yes. So I said, well, I know that there's a sutra, and I can't remember in which chapter. I think it's chapter 3, but I don't remember which one. And it talks about how through the practice of yoga, you will come to a place in your spiritual development, in the expansion of your consciousness, where you can look upon an object, like any object, this rug, for instance. There's a rug up here, people. Look upon this rug, and you can see the past of this rug, and you can also see its future. Like this rug looks like it was woven from the hair of a sheep. So as a yogi, I would see those sheeps, because there's probably more than one. I would see their lives. And I could follow the whole train, the Kashana Kramas, the whole vinyasa, the whole sequence of events that ended up like this. And then I could also see the future of this and of everyone who actually encountered this. In the same way, a yogi can see another person and see their past, their present, and their future. So we actually saw that woman on the train in her future incarnation as a dairy cow. And when we did, all the anger dropped. We only felt compassion for an enslaved, defenseless dairy cow who is raped continuously, abused, degraded, her babies taken away from her, and ultimately slaughtered, turned upside down, blood drained out of her as she's still alive, and then eaten. We saw all of that. So as yogis, we have an edge. We can educate people, yes, on what's going on with the environment, what's going on in the factory farms, what eating meat and dairy has to do with our health. But we can also hit really close to home. Karmically, what happens? So whatever yoga teaches, that whatever you want in life, you can have if you provide it for others. In fact, whatever is happening to you right now is because of what you did, your relationship with others at some point. There's no reason to feel guilty or upset. It should be a call to activism.
And this is kind of why we called this talk, I see you as a pig, or I see you as a cow, or I see you as one of these farmed animals, because, you know, if we can actually look at some of these actions people are taking and see what the future could be, we can cultivate that compassion. And as you're saying, not act from a place of anger, but instead act from a place of compassion and just give kindness. And I think it's interesting because when you think of the title, it might sound at first derogatory, the word pig. I see you as a pig, or you are a pig, or you're a snake, or you're a chicken, you're, fear. We say all of these really hurtful things to each other in the name of animals. And honestly, I think if we can look at a pig, if somebody said, you are a pig, I would say, thank you. That is so sweet. They are beings connected to the light. They are individuals. They are smart and playful and deserve to be treated with kindness too.
We're all caught in the web of karma, the wheel of time. And to blame or to say, oh, it's their karma, they deserve that. That's a very, very unkind thing. And that lacks compassion.
And I think we should try to do anything and everything in our power to perhaps assist or help them get out of that cycle. And part of the activism that I do is I go to slaughterhouses and I give animals water before they're taken inside. And somebody one time said to me, don't you think that's pointless? Why are you going at 5 o'clock in the morning and sitting with the animals and giving them water? They're gonna go inside and get killed anyway. And I thought about it for quite a while, actually. And after we spoke, I realized that, well, in their final moments, they might think back to that one act of kindness that they've had in their entire lives, and that one moment might be the act that helps lift them into
a better life.
Yes.
Yes. Yeah.
And also for other reasons, we film and rescue where we can, but
we'd like to give you some time for questions.
Caroline will come around with a mic. Oh, and yeah, Alexandra. Anything?
Hi. Jamie, what made you go vegan? And what does your family think about it?
Yeah. So, I think like many people, it was a process. I always loved animals. Called myself an animal lover from day one. I grew up with my dog Daisy, and I was 13 when I first had a thought about where my food came from. I grew up in New York City and never really saw farmed animals much. And one summer I was visiting my grandparents in Indiana, and that's in the South, and oftentimes you will see livestock trucks with animals inside that are headed to the slaughterhouse. And I was sitting in the car driving somewhere with my grandparents, and my dog was on my lap, and a big pig livestock truck drove next to us. And I looked out the window and saw these pigs crammed inside this metal truck, and it was really hot outside, and they were panting. I made eye contact with one of the pigs on the truck, and I remember looking at that individual and looking at my dog, and in that moment thinking, what is the difference between her and this animal that's on my lap? Why am I eating one animal and loving another? And for dinner that night, my grandma was serving some type of pork dish. And I looked at her and I said, I'm not eating that. And that was the first time I actually connected the food on my plate with the animal that it came from. As I said, I called myself an animal lover, and I thought I had a good relationship with animals, but the only time I was seeing them was when they were dead on my plate. So I stopped eating pigs when I was 13, and then I realized, well, cows are not that different. Neither are chickens or fish, and eating them sometimes, or doesn't make it okay, So yeah, I went vegan as a challenge, actually. It was January 1st of 2018. I did a challenge called Veganuary, and it was a New Year's resolution. I was at a New Year's Eve party, and somebody asked me what my New Year's resolution was, and I had been vegetarian for a few years, and the person I was talking to said, "Oh, I'm gonna go vegan as my New Year's resolution," and I said, "Oh, I could do that. I'm already vegetarian." And I really thought it was only going to last a month. And in that month, I felt a lot better, for one, but I learned the information. I allowed myself to get comfortable and to get closer to the suffering, to watch Earthlings, a free documentary on YouTube, and just educate myself about the processes of what's happening to the animals, and that changed me forever. But I was a secret vegan at first. Nobody knew I was vegan, believe it or not. I was really quiet about it, and then a few months went by, and I remember I was at a steakhouse with some friends. I was eating my little side of salad and potatoes, and I was uncomfortable with what I was, I knew that it was wrong, and I thought, you know what, if I want to see change, I have to do something about it. So I started going to these cubes called Anonymous for the Voiceless cubes. Some of you may know of it. I see some nods. And we just stand in public places and hold TV screens that show the standard practices of what happens to animals. And we have very peaceful educational conversations. And what I've realized is that almost everyone I speak to is upset by the footage. They don't like what's happening to the animals. In fact, they don't even want to watch it, yet they're eating these products multiple times a day. So, yeah, just something to kind of consider. If we can't watch it, why are we eating it? And so I just started going to these cubes, and then for protests, you meet other people, and then I went to a slaughterhouse vigil, and I think that's what really lit the fire under me, where I just committed I'm never gonna shut up about this.
You went into the slaughterhouse, right?
Yeah,
Yes.
yeah. I've done a few. We plant cameras as well inside of slaughterhouses and factory farms, and it's just way worse than people think it is. And it's like if these industries were so proud of what they were doing, and if something humane happened in the process, they would allow us to film it. They wouldn't criminalize and put people in jail and arrest for just trying to show the truth. Thank you for your question.
Another question.
Hi, Padma and Jamie, thank you for this. So my question is about the people that is vegetarian already, how to help them understand that the dairy industry is one of the most violent one, and if they feel this empathy and this love and they don't eat animals, how make them understand that the dairy is kill animals also? So kill the cows and the babies and everything. Thank you.
Believe it or not, so many people do not know that every dairy cow is killed. And also, I was at a yoga conference many years ago, and I was sitting with a well-known yoga teacher who was actually a few years older than me. And I was eating my vegan dinner at the presenters conference, which consisted of a glass of water and a piece of bread. And she said, "Well, why don't you eat the salad?" And I said, "Well, it has cheese in it." She goes, "Well, cheese, that's okay. That's, I mean," I said, "No, I'm a vegan." "What? You don't have milk products?" "Well, yogis, that's what yogis are supposed to have, milk products." And I said, "Well, what do you think happens to the cows that are milked? Do you know that the cow has to be pregnant?" "What? No, cows just they give milk. Everybody knows that. We learned it when we were 5 years old in the storybooks. A picture of the cow, and on one page, the opposite page, a glass of milk." This woman, a few years older than me, with a college education, did not know this. She goes, "What? No. I'm like, "Yes." And she didn't know that every dairy cow, when their milk production goes down, then they are slaughtered. They're still very young, but they're exhausted and drained, and they're very sad because of the years of abuse and rape. Rape? What? She didn't know this. I said, "Well, what do you think happens to a cow?" "Well, they're in a pasture, and then they just kind of lay down one day, and like a grandma and just dies. And I'm like, lady, what planet are you on? She goes, well, I'm in a yoga bubble. And I'm like, well, I think it's time someone burst your bubble. And yeah, so now that person is vegan, but I showed her a movie. But I mean, this is a grown woman, it wasn't that long ago. And like Jamie said, Jamie's big focus is education. Education. And certainly in our teacher training courses, we do educate as to what happens to dairy cows and many animals. So there's no excuse that the dairy industry is one of the cruelest industries. In fact, Howard Lyman, who wrote the book The Mad Cowboy, he's a very good friend of our Jivamukti community. He said when people ask him, they don't want to go vegan completely in one step, they want to do it gradually. What should they stop eating first? And he says, dairy products. And he says it also for the reasons that I just described, that it's the most cruel industry because of how abused and tortured the animals are from the moment they're born. And because it's a women's rights issue as well. But he also said that it's because it is highly addictive. Milk products are one of the most addictive substances. So if you can let go of that, all the rest kind of falls into place more easily.
Hello. Well, with all these people that is now educated and my family, my friends that I have talked about this, for me it's really difficult to see them. Well, they are really good people, but for me they are not really good people because they are still doesn't want to do the change or to accept this reality. So I think that for me it's really difficult to see like good people eating animals. It's like it cannot be both at the same time. And I know that you talked about this yesterday, that we need to see the good in people, but for me it's really difficult to see someone that eat animals and they know all the things that it's behind and that they are good people, and I don't know how to deal with this. Thank you.
This is a really, really good question and something that I've had to deal with for a while now. And, I completely understand what you're saying, because it's like, the people that we love the most are the ones that are creating so much harm and suffering, and we're fighting every day to try to, stop this from happening to animals, and yet they're still contributing to it. However, if we are talking to somebody and we are wanting to see this change in them, and we are projecting these negative traits onto the other person and saying they have no empathy, they are animal abusers, they are evil, they are unable to develop compassion and kindness. If we are projecting those traits onto them, how do we expect them to change and to be vegan? So I think that the intention that we need to cultivate, as challenging as it can be sometimes, I think it's really important that we see them as holy beings, as part of the light, as part of of all of us. And so even at times where I'm talking to some of the strangers in the park and they say many things that I don't agree with, many things. I have to remember to check myself, and that even if I think something may be negative, it might be best not to respond in that very moment. And so we need to, I believe, act from a place of love and try our best to look at the other person as and accept how they are, and see them as capable of changing like we were able to change. You know, we weren't always I wasn't always vegan. And so yeah, I think that having that mindset is really key and important. And what I have found is that people can feel that empathy from you. And when we can act from that place of love, I've found that it's more effective and that they do change. Do you want to add on to that?
And they can feel the animosity if it's there.
For sure.
And this is one of the things that attracted me so much to Jamie Logan is her happiness, her non-judgmental approach, her her way of interacting with people and not pointing a finger at them and saying, you are bad, you are wrong, I am angry, and you better get get it together and change, and, or I'm going to kill you. It's very seductive. To see someone who is passionate about a subject, and that passion is not motivated by anger or blame or trying to make someone feel guilty and ashamed, is very unusual. And it's very inspiring.
We can see these people as allies. Truly.
So, I mean, this is what we're all practicing and studying as yoga practitioners. How to shift our perception, how to see clearly the truth, how to come from a place of love, how to remember who we really are, that light, that connection to the divine, and to become an instrument for that and not an instrument for anger, blame, these sort of negative emotions, using negative emotions to motivate your actions never really bring about positive change. And they make you, ultimately, they destroy you.
And plus, it's more sustainable. If we're constantly angry all the time and yelling at people, trust me, I was for many years, actually. I could feel myself burning out. I could feel people that I love that were close to me not wanting to be around me. And that's hard. And so I think that if we can show how attractive this lifestyle is, and that it's not a sacrifice, it's just a kinder way of living, and we have so many alternatives today, and set the trend. Why do we want to be like everybody else? We are different. We're yogis. We're not normal people, So I think there's something to be said about that, and cultivating satsang like what we have here is very important, having that support system.
Thank you, Jamie Logan, for joining our tribe.
Thank you. Okay, bye.